purpose of this video is to talk about what causes the heart to actually beat. This is for the Human Anatomy course, Bio 4 at Cabrillo College, currently enduring the spring of 2020, Corona 2020. So in previous videos, we talked about what causes skeletal muscle fibers to contract. And we suggested that was due to a somatic motor neuron releasing acetylcholine, which initiates an action potential or depolarization event within the muscle fiber that ultimately facilitates the release of calcium from the sarcoplasmic reticulum, binds to troponin, moves tropomyosin out of the way, and then we are able to have muscle contraction. A lot of those steps are very similar in the heart and the myocardium, but there is an aspect to the myocardium that is especially unique. I apologize for Lupe right there, shaking a little bit. Okay, so the myocardium is the heart muscle. And the myocardium has two sets of cells. The myocardium has contractile cells, which are the workhorse of the myocardium, if you will. They are what are causing the shortening of the myocardium, or the contracting or pumping action of the myocardium. But we also have what are known as autorhythmic cells. Autorhythmic cells. And autorhythmic cells set the pace of the heart. Set the pace or rhythm of the heart. These autorhythmic cells are going to dictate how often the heart contracts or pumps. So for example, if a resting heart rate is 60 to 80 beats per minute, that's going to be established by the autorhythmic cells. And what we see down in the lower left-hand corner is the heart's electrical conduction system. The electrical conduction system of the heart, everything in yellow in that diagram below, are clusters of autorhythmic cells. And I don't need you to memorize all of this, but I would like you to know the SA node, which is at the roof of the right atrium, which is the heart's pacemaker. So the SA node is the pacemaker of the heart. Generally speaking, certainly will vary from individual to individual, is going to have an action potential or a depolarization and repolarization event 60 to 80 times per minute. And if the SA node is firing 60 to 80 times per minute, then the myocardium and the contractile cells will engage in their mechanical activity 60 to 80 times per minute. That electrical activity of the SA node is transferred to the AV node, which is at the floor of the right atrium. And in a subsequent video, we'll talk more about the AV node. And then we also have the Purkinje fibers, which are found in the ventricles. And we'll talk more about the Purkinje fibers as well, but they transfer their electrical activity superiorly in the ventricles. That is to say, they start at the apex of the heart, which is down here, and then move that electrical activity superiorly, activating the contractile cells as a result. So we have the SA node, the AV node, and the Purkinje fibers. So the question I have for you is, does the heart, or specifically the myocardium, have nervous stimulation? That is to say, like skeletal muscle has a somatic motor neuron going to it, are there nerves innervating the heart? And the answer to that is absolutely. The heart does not need nervous stimulation to beat, but it has nervous stimulation to either increase heart rates or decrease heart rate. Sympathetic activity to the heart increases heart rate during times of fight or flight response, and parasympathetic activity decreases heart rate. Sympathetic activity increases heart rate, parasympathetic activity decreases heart rate, and it does so by modifying the rate of the SA node. So there is nervous stimuli or innervation to the heart. It does not need it, but it does need it if we need the heart rate to speed up or the heart rate to slow down. So we look at this picture up at the top right, that's some representation of a ritual sacrifice. And one of the premises with these ritual sacrifices is that they would rip a heart out of a victim and the heart would continue beating outside of the body. And that's probably pretty unrealistic for one reason, and it's a significant reason. Once you've ripped that heart out of the body, there's no longer perfusion of that myocardium. The myocardium is no longer getting oxygen and nutrients that it needs. But the underlying premise is the heart continues beating because there are the autorhythmic cells of the heart. That's it for the electrical conduction system of the heart. My subsequent video is going to cover the role of the AV node, and I'm going to go into more detail of the Purkinje fibers and why we want them initiating electrical activity at the apex of the ventricles and then move superiorly.